is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. Oh, really?
So they're feeding this. Yeah, you can find it.
That's interesting.
So does
that get passed around on these megaphones to everybody? Or does it get only specific people?
I am working on a video now of a timeline. But what they were saying was when I finally got to the Capitol, I didn't know any of this was going on. All my friends were. Somebody said, I said, well, where is Stephanie? And they just go, she's inside. And I thought there were so many people there and you couldn't see. And there was like tear gas and it was pandemonium. And I thought she meant up inside where the steps were in the front. I didn't know they meant inside
the chamber.
Right? I had no idea what was going on. So I had a really interesting vantage point in the crowd, in the tenor of the crowd. And what was happening was the people with the megaphones were saying, it's time to take back your country. One of the guys is standing with a Confederate flag on top of a statue, and he's going, "Death to traitors, death to Romney." So they were actually calling out Pence. Pence is a traitor. But the people with the megaphones are saying, move forward, let the men get ahead of you. Well, the women move back, the men get ahead of you. It's now or never. We have to take back our country. It's your house. And they were going, it's my house, it's our house. We paid for it, it's our house. So they were definitely going there to take the place back. And then at one point, you were
witnessing an actual invasion, like an actual military invasion. This was not a demonstration. Yeah. This was a planned
and it wasn't
invasion.
Spontaneous. Yeah. It wasn't spontaneous at all. They were telling, these people aren't a brain trust. I mean, I've been filming them for 4 years. No. I mean, you got to fall for the biggest con man in the history of the world. You take a bullet for this guy who hates you.
Yeah,
you think you'd ever invite them to Mar-a-Lago? So he's conned them. And the baby Jesus sent him.
Yeah.
So they're convinced about that. I've also filmed many QAnon people. But they were telling them what to do. Because if you go march, we're going to march to Trump Tower. Everybody just kind of stands around and text. You don't know what to do unless they start leading you in chant. So they were doing 1776 and fight for Trump.
So there was training going on for them, and they were leading this. The Proud Boys seemed to be the leaders
in the chant, right?
And bringing people along and pushing people into different positions and taking different actions based on their commands. And so that doesn't sound to me like something that wasn't planned. I mean, it sounds like a very
it wasn't
planned.
Spontaneous.
It's very and Roger Stone and Alex Jones, of course, are connected.
Yeah,
to
and
Donald Trump.
This Capitol Police radio that audio that we got to hear yesterday, the day before at the impeachment hearing, of the Capitol Police officers saying we're getting flanked. They have projectiles. They were describing we've lost the line, but it was that flank. We've been flanked, and it was like, that's a coordinated crowd, or they wouldn't know to go around and get the officers from the side. So you have to know what you're doing.
But they had, if it was spontaneous,
even though it's not a brain trust, they knew how to do this.
They came in riot gear. My friends and I, we have goggles and hard. What do you call them? The helmets, and we have gas masks, and we are prepared for people banging heads and stuff. And what I do is I run the opposite direction because I'm old and a scaredy cat. My friends are like right up there. But what the spontaneous thing that was amazing to me was that I've been to a lot of Back the Blue rallies, and they believe the cops are on their side. But all of a sudden, this day, the cops were beating them and tear gassing them. And they kept going, what about your oath? What about your oath? You're traitors. You're traitors. Screw the cops. You're traitors. We had your back. They said, we had your back. And now you're turning on us. So that that was weird for them.
It's so twisted what this whole thing has done to different groups. Greg or anybody, do you want to jump into some more questions to Sandi? And then I'm going to run through a timeline. So I don't want to go there yet if you guys want to jump in on something.
Can I say one? Oh,
yeah, of course.
Greg. No, Greg, go.
No, I was good. Go. It's okay.
Well, just to your point, when I was watching the crowd on C-SPAN and Trump was still speaking, I saw these lines of guys leaving. They each had one arm on the other's shoulder, and they were like 30 deep, and they were leaving while he was still speaking in a very militarized, organized fashion. And I was like, why are they leaving? Like, they're clearly not bored. They came to see the guy. And then when I saw the first wave attack the Capitol from the west side, the side that faces the mall, they immediately took the bike racks, which are dividers, barricades, turned them on their sides and used them as ladders. And I'm like, you don't spontaneously do that.
Right.
You train for an action like that.
That's really interesting.
They did it as soon as they found it in coordinated effort. There was like 5 of them turning the racks and climbing up. That you practice for something like that. That just doesn't come to you.
It's such an interesting
They knew where they were going and what time they needed to be there.
But
they knew they had to be there for when they were voting. That's okay. It's just, it had everything to do with what was going on inside the Capitol. That's what they were going for.
Yeah. But how did they know
that's
that?
Why they were going on that clock.
How did they know?
Because there was a schedule. There was a schedule for when the hearings were going to be, and because they were doing.
Yeah, but this happened. The hearings were at 1:00. And the first breach was 12:30 or 40 or something like that. But Noel said a really interesting thing. They did this the first time I saw the hands on the shoulder was in Charlottesville when the Nazis had to evacuate Lee Park, and they all went streaming out, and they held each other on the shoulder like a kindergarten class. Because they're really, my observation of the Proud Boys and these white supremacist groups, they're really infantilized in a way. They're very childish. And I watched Enrique on the second round on the 12th of December. And there was like a school class trip or something. They went to Washington Monument, and they were holding on to each other so they wouldn't get separated. That's the reason for that, from the group. And they're really... I don't know. Hoping nobody hears me. They're just kind of stupid, but they won't do anything without orders. Boys. That was the thing. They did not act autonomously.
Right.
The mob thing took over. Once the first punches are pulled, it was over. The first punches.
Well, that's how walking like that with the hand on the shoulder is how the soldiers in World War I who had been blinded by chemical weapons walked to get away from the trenches. Because the one guy who could see in the front of the line, and then everybody would follow. So that's image wise. That's what it makes me think of. The names of these. Can we just, while we're talking about how stupid they are, we just talk about how ridiculous? Like, okay, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, 3%ers, QAnon. It's like the shittiest bill at the crappiest Coachella of all time. It is infant. When you're more sophisticated in your plot to control the world, you have a very bland name like Judicial Crisis Network, or I don't know, something like that. I mean, you have initials, nobody knows what it is, and it sounds like everything else. You want it to be kind of quiet. And these guys are, the Pittsburgh Steeler colors and the big Q. Let's take the most useless letter in the alphabet and just use that.
So who's the penguin?
They can't masturbate. Did you know that? The Proud Boys. No, they can't masturbate.
Well, they can, but they aren't allowed to.
Sign me up.
They're not allowed to. It's like it reminds me of Fight Club.
I think
that's what it's based on. Fight Club.
Misogyny and what women are supposed to provide for them, and what
it's chauvinistic. They're Western chauvinists, is what they're called.
That's so
and they hate the Muslims.
That's something new I learned about the Proud Boys.
That's not Sandi's word for them. That's what they call themselves. That's what Gavin McInnes.
Western chauvinist. No, that's the. I am not here. I will not apologize for Western civilization. There's like I did 3 videos. The second one, I have the pledge that they take when they become a proud boy. Proud boy.
Proud boy. So let's do something here if we can, because it's worth taking some time to be a little bit serious for a few minutes here. Let's take a look at the timeline that led to the National Guard. We'll come back to some more of your video. So there was this, Chris Miller becomes the what was he? He was the acting defense secretary, right? Yeah. And he gets appointed sometime in late November, along with a whole change of guards at the Pentagon.
He fired everybody.
Yeah, he fired everybody else. In comes this whole new bunch of loyalists, and then comes January the 4th, 2 days before, and he does this memo, which I can't read because it's again too small for my eyesight. But I can tell you that it tells them, amongst other things, there's no helmets that the National Guard can bring in. They aren't allowed to use any riot control agents. They are not allowed to share equipment with law enforcement agencies. They're not allowed to use intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance assets or conduct ISR, incident awareness, or assessment activities. And there's a whole bunch of things that they basically are denied from doing, which is basically telling the National Guard that they can't do anything. They can't really deploy. And then they also take the authority on who can deploy the National Guard away from the regular general who's normally does this, and sends it back to the Pentagon, where Trump has installed all his cronies. Which is just a remarkable thing 2 days before. So if you say that Trump didn't know about any of this, who gave Miller these instructions? Exactly. And if he came up with them on his own, well, why did he do that without anyone reporting it? Because it's quite serious. Then comes this timeline from the head of the Capitol Police. So this is Sand, who's the former head of the Capitol Police. He gets approval at 2:10 in the afternoon on the 6th to bring in the National Guard because things have gone awry. And around 2:21, there's that call. Trump calls Tommy Tuberville. He learns that Pence was removed from the chamber. So he knows at that point that Pence is being escorted away by the Secret Service. Then 20 minutes later, Trump tweets about Pence. I don't remember the exact tweet, but he tweets about Pence.
That's a video I have. I'm reading it.
Oh, well,
they read it.
But they read that at 4 p.m., right? At 4 p.m?
They read it at 4:10.
At 4:10, okay.
PM.
So what's interesting, that when Sand actually does get to put in his request for the National Guard, he gets told he's got to call the Pentagon. At 4 o'clock is when that call to the Pentagon happens. So he's on the line with all these people at the Pentagon, and they are resistant to sending in the National Guard, even though he's explaining to them that there's chaos and an insurrection going on. General Pyatt, I believe, rejects the request. He initially says no. It's only because there's a second request from Sand, supported by the DC police chief, that this actually goes through. Also, it's important to remember, I guess, that Charles Flynn, Mike Flynn's brother, is in that meeting. He's hearing all of this, getting all this information.
Wow.
And then you get to what you said was at 4:15. I might have the timing wrong in this thing, which is 4:10. But it's let's take a look at this. This is when they're reading the Pence tweet to the crowd at the insurrection.
Thank you. Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They're truly on the side of our country.
I didn't start. They faced me.
Yes, they did. The last one is Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. The U.S. demands the truth. We the people. I don't support looting. I don't support violence. I support a peaceful protest to put them on notice that we the people demand justice.
Look at the chaos there. Wow, what chaos. People being forced down those stairs,
out of the building.
Yeah.
They were inside. Yeah, and the guy next to him, with the shirt open with his left to our right, is the guy that was in Pelosi's office.
Who took the letter out of Pelosi's office.
Yeah, and he's holding it. He's holding the letter. Well. Yeah, I didn't know any of this, or I would have interviewed him. But,
so this is happening at the same time the Pentagon is saying, no, we're not going to send in the National Guard. Then they get the second request, and finally they agree to take it up the chain, which I gather took it to Pence and all these other people, not to Trump. And God knows who Charles Flynn was calling in the meantime. I mean, I was sure he made some interesting phone calls. So we land up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, or so I think he said 4:30, when the same guy with a megaphone, he shows up again on your videotape.
No, it's a different guy.
No, a different guy. Okay. So
different guy with the pile megaphone, with the one that the hat lady had. And he said, you're going to show it? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to show it. Let's take a look.
Okay, go.
Okay. Earlier, she called the National Guard in here to clear us out. The Defense Department told her, no, thank you. Mayor Bowser has issued a curfew for Washington, D.C. It starts at 6 or 7. I don't know. Excuse me. I meant to say the communist mayor, Bowser.
Yeah. Woo! Starts at 6.
6 o'clock, the curfew starts. Let me tell you what, if you're not in a large group, they will cut the herd. They will get a small group of people and they will arrest you. They will. I'm telling you right now. If we stay here all night, I don't know what they're going to do. But listen, somebody asked me what's the next step. What are we doing? What are we doing from now? Secession! I did not bring my bulletproof vest because I did not know any of this was going to happen. It's in my hotel room right now because I didn't think anything was going to happen. But now we're here. And the reason we're here, I can tell you the reason. I don't know what we do from now. I don't know what we do. But I can tell you why I'm here. Because I watched on TV. His votes were subtracted from President Trump.
And then he goes on and explains that. But explain what happened at the top there, because he says that Mayor Bauer, he gets information. He gets information out of nowhere. I don't mean, how did he get this information?
Well,
that the National Guard was not being allowed in.
How did he know that the National Guard said, no, thank you?
Yeah. How does he know that at 4:30 when you said there's no cell phone signals there? Like everyone's on their cell phones. It's hard to get a signal from anybody. How is he getting this information from a meeting that just took place at the Pentagon?
Who were the people on the megaphones who they were obviously organizers? And I saw a couple of guys that didn't belong there at all with the megaphones, like Eric Prince looking guys, you know, they like
a couple
nice
of Blackwater guys there. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know that Alex Jones uses ex-Blackwater guys as his security. And there was like a lot of really weird people there. But it was like the invasion of Normandy. It was to the minute.
That timeline is disturbing to me. I mean, that timeline says that the president didn't just say not call. It says that there's a whole command structure at the Pentagon that was backing him up, not sending in the National Guard or delaying the sending in of the National Guard, despite a 2.5 hour request from the head of the Capitol Police, leaving everybody vulnerable inside Congress.
What was the Turbeville? What time is the Turbeville called?
That was at 2:24, I think, or somewhere around there.
Well, 2:24 was his Pence tweet.
Yeah, right before, or somewhere around there.
So he called Turbeville to ask him to. You know why he called Turbeville?
I think Pence's tweet was.
Right. That was the other thing. They were trying to delay this certification.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off there. I didn't mean to do that. 1 second. But I just wanted to see again. Oh, no, I've done that. Well, there you go. So,
here it is. I can't see the time.
So it's 2:24 is the original call, and then 2:42 I think is
and
the
2:24 is his tweet. No, it's exactly the same time.
Okay.
You press send.
I can't see it again now, unfortunately.
But I just have to say go ahead.
I just have to say the other side of this. So if they're getting information, they're also sending information. Communication is not necessarily one way. It doesn't look like it. So then, and there's people that are advanced and they've all got the they've got the earpieces, they're talking, they've got their megaphones. And that way it was very similar to Charlottesville to me, Sandy, just because we were like, when we saw Charlottesville, me and some other friends at research were like, where'd they all get the same tiki torches? Like, who went to Walmart and got all that? Like, it's like, and they're all dressed the same and they all have the same torch. You don't just show up with matching megaphones. Like, someone's purchased all these things. They're expensive, and they did that weeks ahead of time. So, so that just indicates the coordination. But I can't help but thinking that someone probably was saying how far they were getting in, because they were already in. They take Mike Pence out. He'd been out now for 2 hours, or an hour and 45 minutes. So it had to be that communication was going both ways, and folks inside our government knew, and the administration of the Pentagon knew how far in the penetration was with this insurgency.
They must have known everything. I mean, the kids
knowing what's coming to the Pentagon, they're talking to them.
You can't get in that building. I was there for the Kavanaugh hearings, and you can't get within a block. There were barricades a block around the Capitol, and you couldn't get in there, or you would be arrested with canines, and cops.
And it's coronavirus as well. It's not like people are allowed into the Congress anyhow at all right now. It's a very, very strict entry policy because they're not letting people in there.
In New York, I mean, this happened. It's so interesting you say that about Charlottesville, because I was thinking the same thing happened in Charlottesville. I was there when they the first punches, and I ran the other direction, but there was no cops in Charlottesville either. They were told to stand down in Charlottesville, and then all of that carnage, and then they had to leave the park at like noon or something because they were armed, because it's open carry. They had guns, and if they didn't get out of it was they declared it a disaster. I forget what they called it, but they had to leave, and that's when they all went with their hands on the shoulder, and they just, thousands of them just like left and walked down the streets when I filmed them going by. But the National Guard didn't show up until it was over.
Yeah, these guys have carte blanche. They're allowed to do this for some reason. Yeah.
Why? But the same thing happened here. The National Guard didn't show up. The National Guard was alerted before we went to D.C. We were told that my journalist friends knew that the National Guard were on alert.
Yeah, this is not over. People who think that the insurrection is over are sorely mistaken. This is not done.
That's what he said, the start of the start.
Yeah, and there's still a movement. Noel, you were mentioning earlier that there's a couple of court cases that seem to attract your attention today that were a little, how should we say this, liberal on for two white nationalists. Sorry.
Exactly. A judge decided not to press charges against the two cops in Buffalo that knocked over, the Jesuit priest who was protesting Black Lives Matter. I mean, if there's ever a clear-cut case of abuse, it was that. And then Kyle Rittenhouse had his bail hearing where the state wanted to revoke his bail because he's basically already disappeared once. And the judge said they couldn't do that. He was free to have his bail. And not only that the prosecutors couldn't know where he is. They couldn't have his info.
So unusual.
Right, but it's like the thin, it's like the thin blue line or whatever. Now it's like the black robe line. It's these judges saying, look, we're in here. This is still our country. Trump appointed 200 judges in his 4 years, and there was guys that were confirmed before his time. So even though Trump is gone, there's still, the sort of white supremacist power structure exists and is deeply embedded in this country. And I feel like that was a message like, okay, you Dems and liberals are winning this time. You're getting to have your impeachment thing, but don't forget who's boss here.
Kyle Rittenhouse, the first video of him, have you seen both videos? The first one, he shoots a guy he shoots a guy in close-up in the head, and he goes, oh, I just killed the guy. And then he wanders off, and then he goes past, he waves at the cops, and then the second video that everybody's watching, they were chasing him because he just killed the guy and admitted it. And they chase him, and it looks like he's acting in self-defense.
Right. And he gets his bail paid by movie stars, by right-wing supporters
$1 million?
in Hollywood. Right, $1 million. you know,
Just wrong.
Did you just
Just
call
crazy.
Ricky Schroeder a movie star?
I know.
Thank you, Greg.
We're trying to be factual on this show. These are the facts.
It's a very dark. This is a very dark thing we're diving into here.
Yeah. Which is a Friday night. We probably
Very grateful for Sandy documenting. Oh my God, just bearing witness to it.
I love
You're a
you
hero,
guys.
Sandy.
I love you,
great
man.
job. You've done a great
you're
job.
a hero. You're a hero.
Somebody who's just been a journalist, who's a rookie journalist. You're doing pretty well for yourself over there.
You're doing great.
I haven't got
newbie
much
like
time
you.
left. I got to hurry. Right?
Well, next you got to come back on
No,
and
I just
share.
want to let you guys know
Yeah.
that I just want to let you know that while we were on air, a story broke on CNN where the McCarthy-Trump phone call and shouting match. Finally, you're getting sort of McCarthy's side of it. There'd been a little bit of reporting on this before, but it looks like Kevin McCarthy's trying to distance himself from Trump now.
Too late.
I know it's a too late pivot. I get it. That's
4 years too late.
Too late pivot.
There are hemorrhoids on his ass that aren't as close to Trump as McCarthy is.
I know.
Didn't he go to Russia?
I know.
Isn't he one of the guys that went to Russia? McCarthy?
I don't think he went to Russia.
I don't know.
They came to him. Russia comes to him and delivers the checks.
I thought he went to Russia on the 4th of July.
But what's your name?
I have an open question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go first.
Do you think that when Tommy Tuberville found out that the nuclear football was not a real football, that he got confused?
Why did Pence have the football? Why did Pence have the football?
Did Pence have the football?
Yeah,
He had the football.
There was
Why?
some
Does
weird
anybody know
reporting
why?
about it that he I don't know that that's even accurate. It's very strange. You guys, we have all the stuff around Mike Pence is very odd in that we're not getting clear information. And I'm just really curious about it. I think we have to keep our eye on Mike Pence because the impeachment managers were, they were very complimentary of him and they were very defensive of him.
Yeah.
There was a mob coming to hunt and kill him that the president said.
They said remarkably effusive about his patriotism.
The moral thing to do is to back the VP, no matter how horrid it has been. That's just the craziest goddamn presidency.
It might be that Pence saved the Republic.
4 years of the craziest thing ever. I don't think that's hit us yet either. Like how bizarre this whole thing was.
Yeah.
They're going to take out Pence and Pelosi. They're going to take out the line between
Pelosi.
Right.
I don't know about Grassley. But I'm just saying, I think keep your eye on that. And then when another Ron Johnson, was it? No, it wasn't Ron Johnson. It was John Cornyn was asked about Mike Pence. And a reporter said, have you checked on him? Have you called him? Yeah, right? And he said, well, I don't know. I think he's back in Indiana. I don't know where he is. Right. And so there's something going on. Yeah. People aren't really talking about it, but I think it's Karen Pence. I think Mother said, I'm done. He tried to kill you. I was with you. Our daughter was there. They would have killed all of us. You are not defending this guy. We're going to work with this. They need to convict this motherfucker. That is just my guess. I have no information, but
You think he's 2024?
But he also he hit the football, and maybe the 25th. Yeah, maybe they could have done a secret 25th and just taken the football.
So, people were saying in the comment section there are two footballs, and that makes sense.
That's what I think.
Okay.
I think there are. I think
I know
there's
nothing
two
about
footballs.
football.
Just like there are two Melanias, there's two footballs. That's it.
And Melania has now opened a new office of the former First Lady. So if you guys want to go check that out.
She's fuming in the spa.
Yeah. She got very upset.
Fuming in the spa. She's pissed off about
Joe Biden getting accepted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Biden, and then
the hearts, don't you love her?
Her friend Stephanie is like spilling even more beans on her, right? And more tape and more
weird.
recording.
Isn't that weird?
The hearts thing this morning was really lovely. I mean, it's really cheerful, and maybe a good way for us to end the show, just talk a little bit about Valentine's Day to change the topic. That was really cute today. I mean, there was the president, and he's the first lady. She did a little heart thing for the country outside of Valentine's to the country, and they were hugging, and they looked like a regular, in love, normal couple, and they had two dogs running around, and it was like, normalcy back in the White House. It was a tiny little moment, but I think that and the announcement around the vaccine purchases yesterday had really gone unnoticed because of the impeachment. But they're
I'm getting mine tonight. I'm getting my second Moderna. Tonight. Yeah.
Oh, don't make plans for tomorrow. You might be a little under the weather the day after. That's what.
I heard the second one. Yeah.
So,
if
you guys have Valentine's Day plans?
Moderna's not going to get me.
LB, what are your Valentine's Day plans?
Oh, me? I live with my ex-husband. Come on.
LB, what about you?
Her shot. She's going to stay in bed with her shot.
Yeah, right.
I actually don't have any. Is that terrible?
No, we can't go anywhere.
I'm not sentimental that way. I'm not sentimental about. I'm kind of bad that way. We both are. Myself and my husband, we'll forget our anniversary and be like, oh my God, it's our anniversary. And then, but we'll do something. I don't know. We'll have chocolate and flowers and, we'll do that. I like to order in the Postmates. That to me is like the biggest luxury in COVID is like Postmates, right? And so always happen with Postmates.
Greg will revive our faith in love because you always have these great stories, Greg, about your Valentines and your relationships. Yeah.
Valentine's Day? No, Valentine's Day is weird. I was thinking about it today. Like, I'm in upstate New York. There's like 2 feet of snow on the ground. It's going to snow all week. So we're going to be like buried in snow. Whose idea was it to make this holiday in February? Like, why couldn't it be like when it's nice outside and you can go outside and sit outside and flowers are growing and fresh and not dead and coming from God knows where? It just makes no sense to have it at this time of year. I guess they're like, we need, it's first quarter sales are low. We need to come up with something here for cards to be sold. I don't know. I think maybe I'll buy my wife stock in Hallmark. Maybe I'll do that, like actual stock.
That's interesting. It's very practical.
What about you, Zeb? What about you?
Oh, I knew you'd ask. I thought I'd get away with it. I'm not sure yet, actually, but I'll figure it out. I don't know. Probably order in food. It's my parents' anniversary as well on the 14th of February. So it sort of overtakes the family's attention from Valentine's Day. So I'll probably send them flowers because I can't really see them at the moment.
Can I thank you for this? I've been so depressed lately for a long time for a number of reasons, but you guys really brought me up, and I never talk to anybody anymore. And you're also smart, and I just really enjoyed being with you, and I want to thank you for inviting me because it's been
it's great that you came on. We've been dying to get you on for so long. Yeah. And you're tons of fun. You're welcome to come back anytime.
Yeah.
And I know that it's a hard time for everybody because it's February and it's awfully cold out there. And this was a depressing day for me in terms of the impeachment. I don't know if it was a depressing day for you, but things are beginning to turn up. Things are getting to turn up.
They're going to get him in New York. They
are, and in Georgia.
No,
we didn't find out.
In Georgia.
We didn't find out what Noel's doing.
I almost got away with it. I'm going to listen to some good 80s music, some good 80s synth pop, as I always do. I'm picking up a king cake in New York City tomorrow because I'm going to mix it in with some Mardi Gras, I'm going to do some cross-country skiing. Right.
Nice.
Because
nice.
my old lady went to Tulane. And I'm going to do some skiing. I'm near Greg, so we got 2 feet of snow and some horse trails in the backyard that we convert into cross-country ski trails. And then we're going to do some role-playing later. I'm going to dress up as Mike Pence. My partner is going to dress up as Mother.
It's going to be Mother.
Yeah, and we're going to get our freak on.
And you're going to throw the nuclear football around.
I have a fly costume, but I don't want to be on the wall or on the head.
Narrative is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative.